We have with us Mayor Linda Watkins from the City of Carlton. I'm Casey Kula, Yamhill County Commissioner. We have Mayor Rachel King from the City of Amity. We have Betsy Emery from U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley's office. We have Fritz Graham from U.S. Senator Wyden's office, and we have Malcolm McGeary from U.S. Senator Wyden's office. So way to represent U.S. senators today. And I asked Fritz really quickly this morning, I was like, can you give us an update on the River Democracy Act that's really Senator Wyden's, this is the chief sponsor and really the shepherd and champion of it, especially because I get comments in our community regularly about the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. And with that, he said Malcolm will be the person to really present on it. So thank you on short notice for joining us. And can you then give us a sense of what the River Democracy Act is, clear up any misconceptions about it? Because I know that you've done that in multiple other settings before, and then maybe we'll have questions for you. And this is a group, especially the two mayors and me, who love water and are constantly talking about it. So go for it. And thank you for joining us.
Great. Fritz, you want me to start, or did you want to start?
Oh, I was just going to say, luckily, water is not an issue in Yamhill County, so it's not a big deal. Ha ha ha. Okay, I know that it is. That's why I'm saying that. No, go ahead, Malcolm. No, I've been on here before, and you know, yeah, go right ahead.
Sure. Well, thanks for having us on for this today. I've been going around meeting with county commissioners. Actually, I was just in Union County meeting with some county commissioners there. I met with Wheeler County commissioners yesterday. I've been meeting with Umatilla County commissioners today. So I've been kind of making the rounds, doing these types of meetings to try to clear up some misconceptions or just kind of give everyone the intent of what the bill does. So the River Democracy Act would designate additional miles of wild and scenic rivers in the state of Oregon. The initial proposal is around just over 4,600 miles across the state. We've been, since then, we've been meeting with local electeds, we've been meeting with interested stakeholders, trying to figure out, this is the initial proposal, and figure out what streams people want to see in, if there's further amendments that they want to make to the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. When we were introducing the bill, we sort of crowdsourced from Oregonians what rivers they wanted to see. We asked everyone to submit nominations. We got something like just over 15,000 nominations for rivers and streams. And from that, we kind of represented the universe of what was in the River Democracy Act. We also knew we were going to have some concerns about wildfire and private property rights and all the sort of myriad of concerns we've been hearing. So we made a number of amendments to the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act in the bill to ensure that the Forest Service, or the BLM, is doing a wildfire assessment in every river corridor and putting together a plan to reduce wildfire risks using kind of all the available tools in the toolbox, but doing it in a way that would further promote and enhance water quality, recreation access. So we have language in there that it only would apply to federal land, but we have language in there to ensure that private property is definitely not affected. We have some savings language to ensure the state of Oregon can continue to administer water rights. So really, it's a bill that's focused on preventing wildfires, enhancing water quality, and giving agencies kind of a mandate to do some cool work that would enhance water quality and fish habitat. So with that, I think I know there's a lot of questions. I'm happy to answer those or kind of proceed however you'd like, Casey.
Apparently I just muted myself. So what, thank you for going down that overview. Can you describe for the mayors the area that's closest to us? It's like some sub tributaries of the Nestucca, right? Or
yeah, so so Yamhill County, really, there's not too many segments in Yamhill County, but we've got one one kind of a 6-mile section of Wilhelmina Creek. And then you have a few sections of the Nestucca and some tributaries of the Nestucca that are right there in the Siuslaw National Forest that kind of flow in from south to north. And so that's kind of what the realm is that we're looking in Yamhill County. There's a lot of rivers there's not a lot of federal land. A lot of it's Tillamook State Forest and so forth, and private property. So we were pretty careful about where we were drawing the lines of rivers to make sure that we weren't, crossing into federal or private lands or affecting it that way. So like I said, Wilhelmina and a few tributaries of Nestucca.
And then we do have federal land, but it is BLM. So just want to don't forget about the BLM.
Yeah, and that's that Wilhelmina Creek goes right through some BLM land there. It kind of goes from Yamhill and then kind of crosses in through Tillamook and back into Yamhill County.
Right. Mayors, do you have questions for Malcolm?
I don't have many questions. This is the first I'm really hearing about this, so I'm intrigued. Where could I find this bill to read where it's at right now?
What was the last part of the question?
Where could I find this bill as it's written currently?
Sure. Well, Fritz and I can make sure to send you both the bill text, and we can send you we have a bunch of one-pagers that kind of describe what the intent is and what we're trying to do. We can send you a list of segments of rivers that are near you. We got a lot of information that we can put together. So after this Zoom call, Fritz and I can make sure to get you what you're looking for.
That would be great. And then also, how will this affect just the normal everyday person that uses, say, a particular section of the river for recreation?
Yeah, so it shouldn't affect any uses, and it wouldn't actually. It's designed to, so the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act, we have just over 2,100 miles of wild and scenic rivers in the state of Oregon already. Back in 1968, when the act was first passed, the Rogue River in Southern Oregon was one of the first of the original 8 designated. Since then, in 2009, we designated a chunk of the Nestucca. In 2019, we designated a stretch of the Nestucca. It's like a 8-mile or so, actually a 15-mile stretch through Tillamook County. And it's mostly on BLM lands in there. But we have, the state of Oregon has the second most mileage in the country behind Alaska. So we're pretty familiar with how wild and scenic rivers work here. The Deschutes, the Clackamas, parts of the Willamette, the Rogue, the Molalla we just recently designated. So it really is this kind of designed to promote and enhance recreation. It wouldn't close any roads or anything, but it could, it would be something where, the local outfitters or guides or fishing guides could highlight that as it's the wild and scenic river. It's in their backyard. So it has a kind of a messaging. People know what it means, and it draws people in. And then, but yeah, it wouldn't be any more prohibitive or anything for the average, person trying to recreate out there. We have, we've been going around talking to businesses. We have something like 220 businesses now that have endorsed this. So we can I think we have several in your county too, so we can see what we got and send that over to you too.
That would be great. Yeah, it sounds interesting, but just, I had not heard of it. So I'm looking forward to hearing more and then passing that info along so people can get in on the idea.
Sure. We've been meeting with a lot of different folks. We've been meeting with some, for example, we had some irrigation districts out near, off of Mount Hood, the Mount Hood Irrigation District. They there's a stretch that 2 rivers that we had initially proposed that are glacier fed and the channels change pretty regularly. So they asked us to remove a certain stretch of those rivers to make it easier for them to get in and, do kind of a continuous maintenance. They have to change the intakes all the time. So we kind of made that change for folks. I worked with Weyerhaeuser on actually on that specific stretch of the Estuca. They have some private in-holdings, and they wanted to make sure that their temporary use permits to get in and access those in-holdings were addressed. So we've negotiated language with Weyerhaeuser to make sure that they can continue to access their property. We've been, whoever we can meet with, we'll meet with, and we're trying to, we announced that we were working on this, and we were trying to, get as many people right up front to engage with us, but it's kind of hard to conceptualize some of this stuff without seeing, the bill in front of you. So since we've introduced it, I've been going around doing these types of meetings and trying to familiarize everyone with this thing. And there's a lot in there, but we're ready to meet, and we can come out and chat with you if you want us to.
And Malcolm, can you just go over, because I'm familiar with it, but I couldn't tell everybody exactly the protections and the restrictions that are applied to wild and scenic rivers. And I think it's important to say the protections and restrictions, because there are some things that public lands managers aren't going to be able to do, but that's so that we have wild and scenic rivers. Can you just go over that as clearly as you can?
Yeah, so the two things that this bill would absolutely prevent would be new mining claims and new dams in those particular stretches. But every other use, so like the Metolius Wild and Scenic River, for example, has language in its management plan that says that the commercial value of timber shall be used as a means, not as an end, to restoration activities. So it does allow commercial timber harvest, but it requires them to design these types of harvests in a way that doesn't degrade water quality or degrade the free-flowing qualities of the river. It allows mechanized thinning treatments. It allows increased recreation. I was fly fishing for trout on the Deschutes River, and it's kind of a perfect example of a wild and scenic river where, there's a train tracks running parallel to the river. There's, improved campsite. There's vault toilets. There's grazing activities happening. There's 1,000 cubic foot per second irrigation pivot across the river, and there's the intake to the Warm Springs Reservation for the drinking water. And all of these uses are right in that river segment, and they're all compatible, and yet it's a pristine, section of river. They were doing some juniper removal to reduce wildfire risks in that, that campground. And so there's all types of different activities that are allowed. It just ensures that when they're planning these activities, or when they're planning the fuels treatments or whatever, that they're doing it in a way that doesn't degrade water quality.
Awesome. Thank you for explaining that a little bit more. And part of it too, the expansion is to get some of these sections of river that are smaller water bodies, right? Because those are ultimately what feed our big water bodies.
Yeah, the bill pays special attention to the headwater or intermittent streams, because there was a EPA study that came out recently that says that about 2 million Oregonians, or almost half the state's population, get their drinking water from these smaller tributaries and streams that kind of feed into the much larger systems. And they also happen to be like some of the most iconic, spawning habitats for steelhead and salmon and other endangered species. So we're trying to require the Forest Service look at, or in BLM, Forest Service or BLM, look at the, what are the wildfire risks? Work with, when they've designed these management plans, there's an extensive public process that gives stakeholders and local governments and, the broad, swath of interested parties an ability to work with the agencies to design these plans, to look at where the wildfire risks are the worst, design plans to help reduce those risks, whether it's through mechanical thinning or other, treatments, and then setting a management plan, putting a management plan together for these rivers that that kind of meets the needs of the 21st century, changing climate, and that's what we're trying to accomplish with this, and build on a lot of the good work that folks are doing already to restore watersheds.
And it looks like Mayor Watkins from Carlton has a question or comment for you too.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of a question comment. You mentioned, obviously, we pull our water out of Panther Creek, which comes out of the Nestucca drainage. I don't know what our relationship, actually, I never really have explored that, what our relationship is with the Nestucca River. And our neighbors up the road here in Yamhill pull theirs out of Turner Creek, which I'm sure comes out of that same drainage. So we all know that when you start talking about things like wild and scenic rivers, people immediately respond with, oh my God, they're going to take our water away. So what right now would I tell somebody if they had heard about this and they were worried about our water being shut off, which obviously isn't going to happen. I understand that, but we need to be able to explain to people a little bit more in detail on that. So what would I tell?
So this water rights in the state of Oregon are obviously very complicated, but they're run by the state. So it's a state water right, and the Federal Wild and Scenic Rivers Act does not make any changes to the state's ability to administer water rights. So it is purely meant as a measure to enhance drinking water quality, to ensure more water is available in the system, to protect habitat of drinking water. And so it's not it wouldn't take away your ability to pull water out of the river system. That's all at the state level. We're simply putting in a management regime to promote, I guess, to make these systems more resilient.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry about that. It's like I'm at my house and everybody around me and on the street has decided that now is the noisiest time. This is the perfect time to just create as much noise as they possibly can create. So,
well, cool.
Living in it.
I was going to say that I was going to ask Malcolm if he had any other thoughts he wanted to add, or Mayor, did you want to add?
No, that pretty much covers. That's what I thought, but I've dealt with wild and scenic rivers before, but I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page on that. So thank you. I appreciate that answer.
And then Malcolm, as Mayor Watkins noted, so the city of Yamhill is on Turner Creek, so a small water body. And so you're very right in that statistic about communities being reliant upon these much smaller streams rather than main stem rivers. It's a real thing in the Coast Range communities.
Yeah.
Even if Yamhill doesn't consider it a Coast Range community, its water is a Coast Range water. All right, great. Well, thank you very much for presenting to us. It's good to get the update, and I'm glad you're pitching it and answering questions from folks over in Eastern Oregon too.
Yeah, and this offer is still on the table. If there are stretches or segments that maybe you think might not make sense, or that you think should be added, or maybe change the mileage or something, please let us know. I mean, we're going through a kind of rewrite of the bill right now, and taking these meetings and trying to be responsive as we can to folks. So if you do have thoughts or suggestions or changes or things you want to make sure are protected or whatever, let us know, and we'll see what we can do and work through some of the outstanding concerns if there are some.
That sounds great. I know that I spend a lot of time in the public lands in the Coast Range, I'm often like, damn, this is some really beautiful public land, usually BLM. And then I discovered that it's in the harvest base, because then the next time I go there, it's cut. So I may be sending you some other waterways. And some of them actually go into Panther Creek, now that I think about it. So I will reach out to you, Malcolm.
All right, we'll stay tuned. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Malcolm? Okay, great. Thank you very much for joining us.
We'll get you the information you want. Malcolm's got to get going, but I'll stay on if there are any questions, and I'm here at all times to follow up on any questions.
Thanks.
And I will say, Mayor King, that the bill itself is perhaps less helpful than all the one-pagers. because it's like hundreds of pages and most of them are like coordinates. Like this section from here to here on this little creek in here, and then you have to flip back to the map to check it. So the map plus the one pagers are probably more helpful.
My husband is an avid fisherman and hunter, and we spend a lot of time in the exact areas. So I would be surprised if those coordinates and maps are like spread out here soon. So I'll appreciate any information.
That's super awesome. Well, I'm going to move us into updates then from community. And I do want to note that we have Jenny Berg here from McMinnville Public Library. So if you want to give us an update from the city, the library, but also from the greater McMinnville city, feel free to right now. And it's great to see you, Jenny.
Thanks, Casey. It's great to be here when I can be here. So happy to make it. Library wise, it's funny, but I need to tell everybody we're open. We've been open since June. I still get calls from people who ask that question and are surprised that we're open. So we're open and we're still doing deliveries, and we're doing home deliveries to Lafayette, Carlton, and Yamhill. So let your folks know if they don't already know that. Another thing that's of some interest, although it won't, you won't see this come to fruition until next summer, but the State Library of Oregon, there's summer reading grant dollars every year, and they are really pushing for those grant dollars to, they'll still be running through the libraries, but for us to do some really serious outreach into our outlying areas. So the Chemeketa regional area, but outside of the city limits of McMinnville. So we'll be looking to partner with other public libraries in this, I guess it's kind of, north or just in Yamhill County, to bring some services out to your areas. We actually are we need to partner with some groups, and what I think, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Yamhill Carlton School District, which we already have been doing some partnering with. So, but feel free to reach out to me directly if you have other ideas about that. And it's basically to just bring some programming, library programming for kids out to those communities during the summer. And in terms of, and if anybody, I'm excited to bring as much in terms of service as I can. It's tough because we're primarily funded by City of McMinnville tax dollars, but we do get some tax dollars to serve the greater Chemeketa region. So reach out to me if you've got, inspiration or ideas about that, or want to get somebody else in touch with me. Any questions about that?
It looks like Mayor Watkins may.
Yeah, just real quickly, because we're certainly hearing from a lot of adults up in this area about a desire to have library services. And so what kinds of things would you consider for adults up in Carlton Yamhill?
That would be a tougher one. And it depends on, what is it that they mean by library services, and right now the library services that we're bringing is that home delivery, which we want to continue.
So we do have home delivery in Carlton Yamhill?
Yep. Yeah, we're super excited about that. And we've been doing that for at least 6 months, probably longer. So yeah, people need to get a library card. They need to sign up for home delivery, but you can definitely just send them to just give them the main library phone number, and they can get a card online. They can place stuff on hold online, and then we'll deliver it out to them. So that's huge. To me, that's major.
So big.
Yeah, it's the main thing that, when I hear library services, that's the primary thing. And then during the summer, we'll have the bookmobile come out, and people can come to the bookmobile. It's primarily for kids, but if we know that people want adult books, then we will bring them. So yeah, Mayor, I am very happy to work to make things happen in that regard. And the Greater Chemeketa Cooperative is really interested in reaching out to the service areas that are not what we refer to as basic patrons. Basically, they're paying the CCRLS fee, but not the city library fee.
Right.
Tax.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't say fee.
We've been conducting over the last few weeks a kind of a general city survey about what kinds of, we're talking about a new civic building, City Hall, and what kinds of things people wanted to see in that. And one of the top comments has been a library or having library services. So we're starting to think about how we can how we can accommodate that. So
in that case, what I would suggest is, yes, reach out to me, but then even more so is reach out to the director of the Chemeketa Cooperative, who is John Hunter.
Okay.
And because you're in that service area, you're paying that service fee. All your residents are paying that service fee. So let's figure out what we can do. And if it's as simple as the McMinnville library driving out books once a week that people have ordered and managing them some way, and that would work.
Great.
And kind of little steps at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Being responsive though is a good start, right?
Yeah. And because there is more to it than just a room with books in it. And people don't necessarily always realize that. So, but we can start with a room with books and then maybe move further along. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then city-wise, we're talking about ARPA dollars. Tomorrow night, we have a work session with City Council talking about city core services, and it's been a long time coming. How do we quantify? I don't know if quantify is the right word, but how do we basically state what our core services are and then prioritize them? And that's been a ongoing project for over a year now, little bits and pieces, but it's the product is going to be presented at City Council tomorrow night, which I think it's probably going to be interesting. And it's a long document, but it's a compelling document in terms of looking at where we are and what we consider our core services and where we are in the level of service that we're providing in those core services.
And I will say that the fire department has been very good at talking about their services and their ability to respond. But I must say, I don't know about other departments within the city.
Yeah, well, and we're at the city department head level. We're very feel very positive and hopeful about the fire district. So hopefully that comes to fruition. I think that seems like a really good thing overall.
Totally. Well, thank you, Jenny. Are there any other questions or comments for Jenny? Director Berg.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with
thank you for joining. Okay, that's good. I'm looking for Betsy's title over here too. So
as long as I can call you Casey, counselor.
Oh yeah.
I mean commissioner.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for the update. It's great, especially the library to city connection.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
I look forward to hearing from you, Linda.
Definitely. Okay, mayors, it's up to you now. Mayor King, do you want to give an update from the city of Amity for folks? And then after mayors, obviously, we'll go to Senate staff.
Yeah, thank you. So this week I will have some water updates. We are getting our water meters switched out as we speak. I saw them down my road today. I know they're all over the place, so that's exciting. Our two other main projects are also finally making some progress. So our water intake and improvement project, after a very long stall, I got word that we will be signing an MOA and have an agreement between all the parties involved, USDA, tribal leadership from Grand Ronde and the Celeste. And that's just, it's amazing because we've all worked really hard and been waiting for this. So that's super exciting to be able to share. And our water transmission line is underway with some re-engineering and on track to keep moving along. That is really the only major updates. And then we're also talking about how we can pull off a pumpkin decorating contest citywide. So more to come on that. That's about all I have to share this week.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm excited to see the pumpkin decorating contest manifested across the city. Okay, thank you. And then Mayor Watkins.
I just wanted to also comment to Mayor King. My husband and I had occasion to go over to Amity yesterday, and we were going to visit Coelho, but we kind of took a little stroll down Main Street. And over there, we don't have much anymore, but I hadn't been over there quite some time, so it was really nice to see the town. The town looks great, and your Main Street block is just, there's some really interesting little businesses going on there that I'm looking forward to spending more time at. I just got a notice that my internet connection is unstable. Have you? Yeah. That's one of the things that's making a lot of noise. They're doing new internet line around here. Somebody that could make noise has been working on our block. Seriously. So I will try to do my best. We'll see what we can get here. Last night, our planning commission approved a rezone for 16 acres next to the for subdivision next just kind of adjacent to the school. We'll see how that goes. He's not planning on doing anything for about 4 years, so I'm not sure why, but they decided to go ahead and do that. Let's see, our Meadow Lake transmission line, we had another 4.5 miles done last week. Yes, you're still not hearing me.
I can hear you, but it's very painful.
I'm sorry, what was that? Let's forget it. I don't know what's going on. Just
oh, yes.
don't worry about it.
Mayor, Jenny suggests if you turn off your camera and talk, you probably will have better audio.
Okay.
Thank you, Jenny.
So is that better?
I can hear you very well.
Okay. So it's all right. We'll just go with that then. Probably
You were
just as
telling us
well,
about
easier
the water system and how well the lines are being laid.
Oh, these guys are they're moving right along. We're replacing about 6.5 miles, and that's 32,435 feet of water line. And every week they're just trundling along. We had 4.5 miles put in last week. So we're on schedule to finish that by November, December, which will be really great because the pieces of pipe that are coming out are pretty frightening. The other thing that we're really happy about is that water usage for the month has been way down within the city. Normally we start, by this time of year, we're doing a little bit of water rationing or asking people to go odd even, which we've not done this year. But folks have voluntarily taken it on and done it without us having to ask. And so our water usage for the last couple of months has been way down, which is really nice not to have to nag people about. We're starting to do some sidewalks. We're getting a few of those done. I can't remember if I don't think these are in coordination with SEDCOR, but they could be. I know that our city manager has been talking to Abhisha about some of those things. So, and like I said, our planning commission approved the rezone for 16 acres. That's going to be probably 3-4 years before they actually do that, because there's a lot of infrastructure, sewer and water that needs to get taken care of there. And we do have an RFP out for a contractor to work on updating our comprehensive plan and development code, which is two things that we really want. They should have been done, 3 years ago, but it is what it is. And so we're trying to get it done as soon as we can. And I think that just about covers it. As I said, my husband and I really enjoyed our tour of Amity yesterday. So that was fun. There's a lot of new little shops over there. If you haven't been over to check it out, you need to go check it out, because there's some interesting stuff going on. So that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mayor. Any questions for the mayor? And it's a lot. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I would just say thank you for that and highlighting our cute little downtown area. I'm always amazed. There's so much diversity and so many new things coming in that I would also encourage people to just come check it out. It's really neat. So thank you, Mayor Watkins.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. I think we'll be back there for a few meals. So thanks.
Awesome. And 16 acres, how many houses are planned for the 16 acres? It's east of the school?
It's south of the school. We don't know that yet. It's just been zoned. What did we zone it? Actually, the planning commission just approved it to go to the city council. So really it hasn't been approved yet. So we're going to be having that discussion about what they're going to be zoning it as, because, the JR1 that is almost completed now has 38 homes there. I can't remember how many more, at least 38, I think closer to 40, somewhere between 40 and 50, at least new homes are going into JR Meadows 2, which is an extension. So I frankly am kind of concerned about having that many people plop down on us all at one time. That's, we're looking at over 100 people, new citizens right there. And we'll see what comes out of this one. So yeah, we haven't really done the zoning dance on that with them yet, as far as what it's going to be zoned as, just that we're going to be talking about something. So.
Okay. And then that prompted me, I asked Jody Christensen from the governor's office about the timing for dispersal of funds to cities or to the county for funding that came from American Rescue Plan dollars that went to the legislature, and then the legislature essentially, for lack of a better word, earmarked them for cities. And according to Jody, the Department of Administrative Services should be reaching out to your cities to work on a contract in the next few weeks that will probably lead to dispersal of funds by the end of the year. So
great.
I found that helpful. Hopefully you did too.
Well, yes, very helpful, because we're certainly, we're going to need those to do our sewer line. So yeah.
Exactly. And the county should be getting, I think, 1.9 million for broadband expansion. So tomorrow at our commissioner meeting, we'll talk a little bit more, or Thursday at our commissioner meeting, we'll be talking a little bit more in detail about the broadband expansion grants that'll be available.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Okay. And we have 4 internet service providers who are interested in that. So that's also a good thing.
Yeah, we just approved a franchise for Ziply fiber over here. So I don't know. They spent all last week just putting cable up all around town. And we don't know what was going on. It was, the roads were shut down. There were people within trucks yelling and at each other to pull the cable, and it was nuts. We didn't know. Anyway,
And then it looks like Mayor King, you had a question.
Kind of moving on, so I don't want to rush anything, but since you mentioned your commissioners meeting, will you take a chance to talk about how the state of emergency declarations may or may not affect local cities within the county?
Absolutely. So the drought declaration of emergency really primarily affects the city of Yamhill, but because it's a declaration across the county, if your city has and looks like it has an imminent need for water, then it will be advantageous to you. So we won't have to declare an emergency for you too. So that one has gone to, I guess it's called the Drought Readiness Council, which I didn't know about. Now I know about it. That then advises the governor on to whether or not to sign that drought declaration. So it's expected that Governor Brown will sign that, and it'll allow, especially the city of Yamhill, if they need to do emergency water rights transfers. So far, they seem to be okay, but water use has gone up in the city of Yamhill. I was talking with the mayor last week, a little bit getting close to that edge, where essentially basically the line is, if we don't have enough firefighting water and we need the firefighting water, we're never going to catch back up with what the city water drinkers need. So, we're waiting for Governor Brown to sign that, but it'll be available then to the rest of the county as well, as my understanding. So then if you need to do that, then you'll declare an emergency and the state can get involved at that point. On the emergency declaration on an imminent shortage of staff for schools and life and safety, it doesn't look like there's really anything that cities need to do. And as far as I can tell, there's not, my subjective statement would be that it doesn't look like there is an imminent shortage anywhere within life and safety or school districts. And I don't see it in the future. So I'll just say that the evidence does not suggest that, but we do have an emergency declaration. And so if we needed to, the county could provide funding for staffing at agencies if they were lacking in workers. Hopefully that helps.
No, that is helpful, because when you hear a state of emergency, it brings, worry. And so I just want to be prepared if people have questions, because I also for Amity would not be able to point out an emergency that is happening right at this minute. And so it's really good to know, what that state of emergency entails at this point. So that was helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, good. And I know that the West Valley, or I have to get the Sheridan and Southwest Polk County Consolidated District, Fire District, has seen paramedics or EMTs moving to other jurisdictions. It doesn't seem to be associated with that vaccine mandates. And so that's something that they're kind of monitoring, is to make sure that they still keep their response times and readiness levels up. And there's been because there are mutual aid agreements, things are stable and safe right now. Hopefully that helps. Okay, good. It sounds like it does. And I want to make sure that before we get out of here, that our Senator Merkley's representative and Senator Wyden's representative have some opportunity to share, especially about what's happening or not happening in the Senate right now. So Betsy, Fritz, who wants to tell us what's not happening in the Senate or is happening that we need to know about, and how can we help it move along or change? And Fritz turned his camera on, but Betsy unmuted herself first.
I think Fritz is, the long-term, has that historical knowledge, so he might be more suited.
Yeah, way to pass it off. But then I'll ask you what things you want to see in Yamhill County in your tour, Betsy. So you'll be on the spot in a moment. Fritz, then. And Fritz, you're muted.
Well, and I thank you very much, and I'm done. No, what they're doing is they're mulling over a continuing resolution to, the fiscal year ends September 30th. The budgets are supposed to be passed by then, and they're not going to be. And along with the two large bills, budget bills that are in the budget bill and the infrastructure bill that are before Congress, they're not going to get it done by then. So they're going to mulling a continuing resolution till sometime in December that gives them the time to work on all of those things, which also gives Senator Wyden some time to try to get paid leave and childcare into the bill. If you don't have roads, if you can't drive from your home to your job, you can't get to your job, and if you don't have childcare, you can't go to work either. So it's giving time for that kind of stuff. So.
And then Fritz, what is the childcare component of it? Is it just the funding for it, or is there some structure to the funding?
I can get back to you on that. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of moving parts there. So yes.
Okay, Al said something along the lines of there's $450 billion for childcare, and I said, but I want to know, which what does that look like?
Right, details. So don't know.
And then Mayor King.
I had heard that the goal was to make childcare no more than 7% of a person's income. That was a big end goal of this. But that's just something I heard.
That's super helpful. I just want to know, does this mean that there will actually be providers to provide that care? But maybe the thought is if the federal government is providing funding for it, that there will be providers who will say, yes, I'll get into it. Fritz?
I will. As we get more information, I'll come on and we can, and Betsy and I can let you know. So
that sounds good. Well,
and I sent you the documents for River Democracy Act, Casey, so that you can send those out.
Perfect. So then my question then for Betsy is, what parts of Yamhill County do you need to see in our caravan around coming up?
I have to see a lot of parts of Yamhill County, but I am excited to spend some time with you all on Friday. Sounds like I'm starting in Willamina and then going to McMinnville and meeting up with our mayor and then meeting you all in Berg. So I think I'm going to get a good tour of at least that 99 or what is this? The 1899 West. So it sounds like the big projects, water projects, anything going on around that. The Dundee-Newburgh bypass, of course, I would be remiss to not ask to see that project. Really looking to you all to kind of guide the way on terms of what you all think are the primary good introductory places to start, I guess.
Well, that sounds good. Mayor and Jenny. It sounds like Jenny, we've got McMinnville covered, but Mayor King and Mayor Watkins, should we try to meet you, or should we try to see particular areas of your cities that Betsy needs to know about, that there are funding challenges with, or intractable problems, or beautiful things?
Yeah, we got to see the good things too. I know that I have some time set up with Mayor King to chat in the coming weeks. And then I do have time with Carlton also coming up, Mayor Watkins.
Yeah.
I will say up front, I have 6 counties. And so I would appreciate just a little bit of patience and flexibility as I start to get to know what cities are in what counties and kind of these little basic things. It's a big territory, so I appreciate all of your flexibility as I get more familiar.
Well, we particularly wanted our city manager to be involved in this because of where she's coming into our city. So we're kind of leaving her to be the point person on it. She's probably the person that has the most restricted schedule. So I know that you've visited with her already and set some things up. So we'll be there but we're kind of leaving that in Shannon's hands.
Yeah, I just confirmed. It looks like I have time on the calendar with on the 29th, when because I'm also doing a couple of other tour, like another tour of Polk County and some of the places out there. So yeah, I'm making the rounds. If I haven't set time up with you yet, I think most of you all on the call I have, but if I haven't, reach out to me. I would love to have some one-on-one time to get to know your community and come up with some of the issues and projects you're working on.
That sounds good. And I think we'll be patient with you, Betsy. And then Mayor King, you were going to say.
Oh, I was just going to say that I'm looking forward to talking with Betsy. We have a Zoom call set up, but if she happens to find herself in Amity, go ahead and check out our charming downtown area that Mayor Watkins mentioned, and also how we have 2 state highways that make up the main thoroughfare of our entire city and affect each citizen's day-to-day life. Because that, aside from our water projects we have going on, the fact that those 99 and 153 run through all of our city is a big point of mine that I like to let people see for themselves.
It's such a good point. It's not, I was going to say it's like this, but it's actually, I can't do the offsets for it. It's not a perfect T. And go ahead, Betsy.
Oh, I was just going to say that's a really good flag. I'll keep an eye out. I'm just going to try to drive around and get to know the area. So I'll try to keep an eye out as I come into Amity, sorry. That was a bad one.
You're not the first to say it. And I would love in the future to come, we can do a walking tour together, but maybe that can be, in the spring when we get good spring weather.
Oh, for good spring weather. Fritz.
Oh, that's a Jaws reference, isn't it? Amityville? Oh, an Amityville Horror. Okay, I'm sorry.
The horror house.
Forget
I know.
It's Amity. It's Amity is one in Jaws. Sorry.
It's a spooky season, haunted house time. I don't know.
Totally. Well, the spooky season will be driving across the Salt Creek Bridge, which, Mayor, I did just Saturday. And I was like, I'm so glad that this bridge is going to be rebuilt and reconstructed. Hooray. Yeah. In fact, it's actually pretty shocking when you pull off the asphalt and see the wood structure down below it. So you're going to have a great bridge someday.
Someday soon. Relative.
That's good. Well, I just wanted to add that we have, as I noted, the American Rescue Plan work session on Thursday, and we hope to have, by the end of it, direction for requests for proposals for childcare, or potentially an expedited kind of grant project for childcare. And then one for water and sewer infrastructure for cities and special districts. And then moving forward with the broadband. So childcare, broadband, and water will be the things that we're going to try to get out the door and moving so that we can get contracts with cities and other grantees. So cross your fingers for good progress on that.
Is there anything you need from Carlton for water and sewer requests?
Not yet. Once we have a formal request for proposals, then it'll go to you. It really, my colleagues and I just need to sit down and agree, like, here are the priority types of work, and here's an estimated range of budget that we have for each request. And we just need to have that out there and then get a formal request for proposals out to you.
Thanks.
So, Commissioner.
Mayor King.
Sorry. Will you have more information for us before we get that the RFI or whatever from you?
Yes, I can for sure.
Okay.
Well, I'll do, at the very least, I'll present it on here next week, but then we'll try to get you as much information as we have. It's going to be a request for proposals, so we'll send out to the cities and to special districts. We're looking to fund a project that does capital improvement, is in this timeline, is in approximately this range of time, and it improves the water quality, quantity, or stability of the system. Essentially that's. I mean, I hope that that's it, since I can't think of anything else we really need to put in there.
Oh, I feel like once we know those things, everyone will have a pretty easy time getting back to you.
Yes, I think so. And no offense to the cities of Newburgh and McMinnville, but I'm strongly encouraging my colleagues to only fund projects in the smaller cities. And then a couple of special districts who've come to us with a request.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The money goes further when it's not for $100 million worth of piping. Okay, I think, are there any other, it's 1:58, are there any other questions or comments? All right, thank you for all of your information, sharing it with us this week. Vaccine doses continue to go up in the county, which is very exciting. We are still holding steady with COVID cases, unfortunately, on a week-to-week basis. So remember to wear a mask, get vaccinated, and keep your group sizes small. I mean, we can do that in absence of guidance otherwise, and we know it works. So we will see you next week, and thank you all very much.